Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Xekoya XE100 Emoto. This has been my favorite Emoto that I've unboxed and reviewed so far, so let me get right into it. Nowadays, I have a decent amount of companies trying to send me their bikes to review, but I don't accept them because they're just way too weak and they wouldn't be fun to ride for very long. However, the Xekoya is different. When you compare it to some of the other bikes that are similar, you can see just how much better the Xekoya is, because the Xekoya has 5,000 watts of power and a 1500 watt-hour battery, which is significantly more than these other bikes. Getting into the unboxing, the first thing in the box is the charger. The charger is 4 amps, and with the 30 amp hour battery that's in the bike, it would take 7.5 hours to fully charge. This isn't super good, but it's better than some other bikes I've unboxed. Next is a bag of tools, some hardware, and the user manual. After that comes the handlebar mounts and one peg. Last is the headlight and a little foam pad that you put on the handlebars. I decided to cut the front panel off the box to make it a lot easier to get the bike out of the box. With all the packaging material out of the way, we can take a closer look at the bike. Attached to the bike was the front wheel, the plastics, the display, and some other pieces of hardware. Here it is all laid out. The first step for the assembly is to take the ratchet strap off of the front forks. As you can see, they spring up a bit, so be careful. The next step is to put the front wheel on the bike, and what I like to do is prop the bike up so that you're lifting up the wheel to line it up with the bike, and you're not trying to lift the bike up to line it up with the wheel, because that can be pretty hard to do. Next, you can grab your axle and put some grease on it. Then take the smaller spacer and put it on the axle, just like that. Grab the wheel and hold it up in position and slide the axle through the bearings. Don't put the axle all the way through though, because you need to take the longer spacer and put it on first, before sliding the axle into the other fork. Once the axle is all the way in, you can grab the nut, put it on the other end and tighten it up. After I put my front wheel on, I spun it to verify that the bearings were smooth, which they were, but the front brake disc was super bent. It must have gotten damaged during shipping, so I just grabbed it with some vice grips and bent it back into place. Now it's a lot smoother. It's still not perfect, but it'll be fine. While I'm working on the front brake, I might as well bolt the front brake caliper on. This is pretty easy to do. Just remove this little wedge piece from between the brake pads, then unscrew the bolts, put the caliper in position, and bolt it on. The last thing we need to do to get this bike to stand on its own is to bolt on the shock. To do this, lift up the swing arm so it aligns with the shock, then slide the bolt through and tighten up the nut on the other side. Once again, this is a lot easier to do if you have the bike propped up on some kind of stand. Just a quick reminder that you should put blue Loctite on any of the bolts on this bike that do not have some kind of locking feature. After putting on the rear shock, it's time for the right peg. However, this peg has the hardware in it, and it's also on the bike, so I guess we got some extras here. Anyways, when you're putting the peg on, you can look on the left side to make sure you have the pin and the spring in the correct position, and don't forget that washer. Now it's time for the front fender. To install it, just take out these 3 bolts, then slap the fender on there and bolt it on, and don't go too tight since you're just bolting on plastic. Next is the number plate, but before putting it on, you want to make sure all your wires and hoses are in the correct position. This bike comes with the front brake lever and the throttle just dangling loose, so at this point I'd recommend putting them on the bars. You don't have to tighten them yet. After that, unscrew these 2 bolts to take off this little bracket, then head over to the number plate and bolt it on. Now you can go ahead and grab your headlight and plug it in. Make sure to push until you hear the plug actually click together. Then get the headlight out of the way and put the number plate in place. You want to make sure to route the front brake hose in the correct position, just like this. Then align the 2 pins on the bottom of the number plate into the 2 holes on the front fender. You may end up having to move some wires or hoses out of the way to get this in the best position. Once you have it where you like it, you can push it back to align the 2 holes in the number plate mount with the 2 holes on the triple clamp. These 2 holes are also where the headlight is going to mount, so you have to do it all at once, like this. Now that that's on, you can grab the handlebar mounts and bolt them to the triple clamp, just like this. Once those are installed, it's time to install the handlebars. Don't tighten these up too much at the start because you still need to move them back and forth to get them in the correct position before you fully tighten them. After that, it's time for the display. Just plug it in there and then bolt it on the left side. With the display on, the handlebars are nearly done. The last step is to sit on the bike and really feel it all out to make sure it's all in the correct position. You might have to loosen some stuff and move it and then re-tighten it up. One tip with the throttle is you don't want to just shove it on all the way because it will be rubbing on the end over here. What you want to do is slide the throttle all the way on and then back it out a little bit so there's always a little bit of clearance on the end so the grip is never contacting the bars and getting hung up. On the plastic guard on the left fork, there's a little clamp where you can mount the brake hose to make sure it never goes into the tire, so make sure to put the brake hose into that and clamp it down. Now it's time for the plastics. It looks like they attach from the inside, so I'm going to have to pop the seat and pull the battery out. These plastics are just for looks since there's no radiator up here like on a gas bike, so you don't really need them if you don't want them. There's also a little bracket here to support them even more, but they don't really need it, so I'm not going to put it on. And finally, we have the cherry on top, this little foam piece that zip ties to the bars. The zip ties are pretty big, so I'm going to swap them out for some smaller zip ties. And just like that, the bike is ready to ride. I really like how this bike looks. The stickers aren't super obnoxious like on some other bikes, and while some other bikes look kind of wonky, I really think this one looks perfect. Because this bike has a red seat, you'll have to stick with the red color scheme if you do customize the bike unless you want to buy a seat cover. However, they do offer a black version with just a couple red stickers here and there that you could peel off and give yourself a perfect blacked out bike that you could change into whatever color you want. Anyways, time to ride this thing and see if it's a ripper. You already know that I gotta get the top speed run done right away. "5,000 watts is a great amount of power for a bike this size. If you race someone who had one of the two bikes I mentioned at the start of this video, you would leave them in the dust. Right now, I'm riding up a slight incline that I didn't see when I recorded this top speed run. It delayed me getting to the top speed, which was 45 miles an hour, which I think is also really good. The bike will do a wheelie no problem with just the throttle if you're going pretty slow, and if you're going a little bit faster, you do have to give it a little pull to lift it up. I should also say that the throttle is absolutely dialed. It's nice and snappy, but not too sensitive. It's so much better than some of these other bikes I reviewed. The bike handled all the off-roading that I did totally fine. I bottomed it out a couple times, but I definitely wasn't going easy on it. I'm 180 pounds, so if you're lighter than me, it would handle it even better. I should also say that at 6'4", I'm definitely too tall for this bike. I can ride it fine while sitting down, but as soon as I have to stand up to go over a technical section, it gets pretty uncomfortable. I rode over to the hill climb area to get some more FPV footage, but when I tightened my phone in my mount, it just snapped the mount, so I guess we're done with FPV footage for this ride. Luckily, my brother showed up so he could film. Here's the tricky hill climb I went up on my 72-volt Villain. The XE100 did it no problem. It was pretty muddy on this day, so we mostly stuck to the rocky trails. After doing all this filming, I decided I was going to rip the bike around the trails until the battery died. It was going fine until the chain guide bolts rattled loose and the chain guide got sucked all the way around up to the top. This completely locked up the bike, so I couldn't ride it back, and that was a problem because I was pretty deep into the trails and I did not want to carry this thing back. So I grabbed one of these metal spacers from the chain guide and popped off the master link so I could remove the chain guide and just ride it back with no chain guide. This is a good reminder for everyone to check for any loose bolts and to tighten your chain after you've put some miles on a fresh bike. If I would have stopped riding when I heard the chain guide rattling around and fixed it, then this wouldn't have happened. In conclusion, I think this bike would be a great choice for a teen's first bike or an adult like me who just wants a fun little bike to rip around and have fun on. There's nothing I would really change on this bike besides the headlight. The beam is pretty thin. I wish it was a bit wider so you could see a broader area. It looks like a laser beam shooting out of the front of the bike, especially when you're riding in a dusty area. It's definitely still usable, but I decided to just take it off since I never really plan on riding at night. And if I do ride at night, I can just throw on one of these battery-powered lights and call it good. Here's a quick look at the battery dimensions. If I wanted to upgrade this bike, I would have plenty of room for a custom battery. Here's what a 20 series 9 parallel pack would look like in the bike. It would have plenty of room. I even taped on that little spacer right there to see what a 26 series 9 parallel pack would look like. I think it would fit. I would have to remove these two little bolts. That would be an absolutely overkill amount of power in a bike like this, but I feel like I don't need to upgrade this bike because it's already so fun. If you want to buy a Xekoya XE100, I'll have the link in the pinned comment and the description, along with a promo code that lets you save some money and support me. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.